Hey guys, happy Wednesday, August 25th, 2021. If you are watching this and you live in a central time zone, it is 1 o'clock. Welcome to Lunch Talk. So I'm your host, Rigo Murillo. Today, if you joined last week, then you know that today we're going to have a special guest by the name of Paul Carter, who's the COO and co-founder of a company by the name of Beehive Live. So it's something I found very interesting because they are in the people business. And as I've gotten into more conversations here recently, one in particular I want to talk a little bit about. I found it interesting that the subject of technicians and support staff and management and everything else that we've been discussing and we've been talking about, the current situation that we are living in today's market. And you'd think that, this conversation may be getting played out or getting old, but I'm finding it's not. And I had a recent conversation with someone from a very large organization within our industry, within renewable energy. He holds an executive role, and it was really interesting what he spoke about. And so I want to bring that up today. But before we get too far into it, I want to go ahead and introduce our guest for today, Mr. Paul Carter. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Rigo. Thanks for having me.
Here we go. Ready? Yeah. We're having fun with some new equipment. I told you things are going to get real cool. Wait till we get into the studio.
I'm waiting for you to put the lights around the top of the head, like the halo.
All I got to do is take my hat off, and naturally the glare from the light off my bald head will do that.
Yeah, so, stick the solar panel behind you. You'll start charging all your equipment.
Yeah, there we go. Well, welcome to the show, Paul. Welcome to Lunch Talk. And again, I appreciate you being here. Also, I'm grateful for your constant support of the show too.
Thanks. Yeah, it's good. It gets messages out into the industry. There's not many platforms that are doing things like that at the moment. There's a few people that are doing their separate things, but there's no dedicated, bang on, week in, week out show that I've found anyway.
Well, it's extremely challenging. I'll tell you that right now. The consistency is challenging. And I remember when we talked about it, even when Neil and I were getting it started in the beginning, it was like, let's do it a couple days. It's like, let's just do 1 day a week.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's just try with 1 day a week, because 1 day a week alone is going to be challenging. And you start to find that consistency, which matters. It does matter. And I think that's with anything, right?
Walk before you can run.
That's right. That's exactly it. And more importantly, I'm doing this because just like you said, there's nothing out there. And I think it's important. I think it's important because we have a community within our field, renewable energy in particular, that we're going through some challenges and have been for the last 20 months. But there's others like us out there. And I want to be able to learn from others, especially when it comes down to areas of leadership and mentorship and employee, I would say, mental health. And I don't mean that to sound, as if it's, within the psychological aspect of it. But I've been very, very fortunate to have traveled quite a bit in my life for my work. And I've always been able to work remotely. But I have found this to be extremely difficult for me, as I'm a people person, not being able to be out in that environment. And I look at others.
There's loads of people in the same situation. I mean, yeah, face-to-face communication, everybody wants it. Everybody loves it. And basically, I think the managers of all these people that are out in the field and everything, they've probably had to step up their game a fair bit during the pandemic and the lockdown. So hopefully they can, all raise their game and everybody gets on a bit better now and for the future.
So, when you guys decided to bring your company online, give me a little bit of an, I guess, an aspect of, you guys brought it in right around the kickoff of COVID, right?
Yeah. We actually went live October 19. So it was a few months just before it kicked in. So you're only talking sort of 3-4 months before it kicked in, And everybody around that time, October, November, December, was getting this mysterious illness that was knocking around, and all the doctors didn't know what it was. And I definitely caught it off my father when I went home for Christmas anyway.
Yeah.
And the whole family got it. But we started then, but it was, our whole project was a project in the concept from going back from evening talks back in 2014.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about that. So quickly for the audience, why don't you go ahead and explain, the elevator pitch, right? Give us a little bit of a detail. What is it that your company does and who it serves?
The concept of the company originally, it started off literally, like I say, 2014. There was myself and Dave Reese, the principal founder. We were having conversations about the issues with regarding getting personnel, how quick you need to get them personnel, and then how do you contact them instantly without having to sort of make one phone call, and then suddenly it's like, well, you could be waiting ages, So there needs to be better response times, and there need to be, for companies wanting to make quicker decisions and boost their productivity, there needs to be a better way. So the analogy of, the best way I can describe what we've done with a company is, at the moment, workers get two options. They either go DIY job hunting, where they look for adverts and, waste loads of their personal time, I personally think, or they can go through agencies. And the agencies, I'd say more than 50% of the workers that work for agencies don't like it, because the agencies are earning money off of the backs of, the guys and girls' hard work. So do you fish, Rigo?
Not very well.
Right. Okay. I know you shoot well anyway.
I shoot better than I fish.
So put it like this. If you go fishing, you're sitting there at the edge of the water, you throw your line in with your hook, and it's literally, you're throwing that job advert out there. And all the different types of fish in the water, all the different types of fish represent, let's say, all the different type of workers out there in industry. Now, you might get 27 bites for one advert or something, but there might only be one person suitable. But what if you could do this? What if you could turn around and just walk up to the riverside and go, that's the fish I want. That's the candidate I want. I'll take that one, please. Thanks very much.
Kind of like I do at Costco.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's like you do on Amazon. You don't go on Amazon. I mean, we've literally took the workforce and put it in the shop window. So if I want a wind turbine tech, for instance, I can go on to Beehive Live. I can just type in wind turbine tech. I can type in the location I want. I can filter the skills I want him to have. Whether it's onshore, offshore, whatever particular thing you want him to do, and then bang, there it is. Instant list of results, as quick as a Google search.
So essentially, you're working towards creating essentially like a marketplace for labor.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've cut out all the middlemen, and it's what we've got at the moment is not our final finished product.
Nice.
We've got loads of things that are coming down the line that we want.
Of course.
And there's things on there, like simple things, like it'd be nice if somebody could get some advice from a mentor. So we're gonna put mentors on there. It's little things like that are needed within the industry, where quick questions can be asked and somebody will be there to answer them for them.
Very, very cool. And right now, so we were talking a little bit about it. Why don't you tell the audience too, where are you based out of? I love, first off, that we can do this, but
I'm on the south coast of Ireland. I'm in Cove, the last place the Titanic went from.
So you're sitting in Ireland. I'm in Wichita, Kansas.
And our office is in Southampton on the south coast of the UK.
And that's where Dave's floating around.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's at a pool party tonight, by the way.
Oh, got it. Okay, so he's at a pool party. You're getting the evening wrapped up, and I'm getting the lunch hour tied up.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, we live in an incredible world today where we get to do some really amazing things, right? We are now in a place where we're getting to create these new dynamics where, you know, there was a quote that at some point I'm going to get it right, but it talked about through this pandemic, right? If you haven't come out with new skills, new skills or better body, or at least some level of a side hustle or new business, it wasn't that you lacked time. It was that you lacked determination. And I think it's interesting because what's going on right now in this industry is that we've created platforms now for more people to do more, essentially. And it has become difficult within certain work environments, but at the same time, I think it's opened up a lot more doors for people like yourself and others to offer solutions that maybe didn't matter as much before. To me, this particular platform seems to be something that would be more valuable today than it would have been 5 years ago. Even though it was a good idea 5 years ago, it seems like even more now today that we're not able to interact as easily.
I think it will be technology like we're, trying to produce for everybody out there. I mean, initially it was like, let's try and put something back into the industry, and it's actually growing bigger than what we thought it is, because we're getting crossover workers from crossover industries, let's say, because yourself, there's so many guys in the wind industry that might have been, they work in the oil and gas, or vice versa, and loads of rope access guys joined us. So yeah, I mean, the technology down the line is going to be the key for employing people, I think, because especially in renewables. Yeah. Because I don't think if you're not going to get the personnel fast enough, there's going to be an awful lot of wind turbines sitting idle doing nothing because companies aren't able to source the people quick enough.
So if you're watching this live, do me a favor, hashtag live in the comments. Let us know that you're watching. If you like what you're seeing, let us know if you want us to get into other topics or discussions. This is something that we want to know as well. So right now we are broadcasting to our Facebook groups, live on LinkedIn, and then the YouTube channels. So if you haven't already subscribed, do me a favor, subscribe. Paul, one of the things we'll want to do too is make sure to drop your information. Check out Paul and Dave, actually both. Find them on LinkedIn. I really do think that they're interesting. Their company's very interesting in what they're onto. I like the concept of it, and I think it's going to be something we're going to see more of. And I'm glad that you guys are one of the first to markets really like this.
It's kind of I think maybe 10 years from now there'll be a lot of options. So hopefully, I'd like to say we're leading the way.
Yeah, you know what? It's exciting. It's exciting to see. What was your background in prior, Paul, before getting into this business?
I've done composites years ago. Then I did oil and gas, and then I was in aviation, and then I've gone back to composites, and I ended up working with Dave, and we must have covered every type of blade repair going ever. It's the things we've done and the places we've gone to repair different blades is just phenomenal. So yeah, that's how we got into that. And like I say, 7 years ago the conversation came up, and then later on down the line it was like, right, are we going to do this? You're
like, hey, we've got an idea. I've got a perfect time to start a business. Let's kick this off right now at the end of 2019. Maybe there will be some crazy surprises next year. We'll see how that goes.
Exactly. Let's throw a virus into the mix and see how we get on.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to tell you this, right? Any company that can get through and survive from the last couple years, we're not only going to grow in a positive place, we're going to thrive because this is something that has taken down businesses that have been around for decades. And I think the power of the entrepreneur spirit says, I can reshift, refocus, and I'm gonna step to one side or the other to make sure that my business and this concept makes it and gives a value to the market.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a case of look what's happening, adapt to the situation, and push forward.
So I had this conversation here recently. I was discussing this on the intro before we brought you in, Paul. But so I had a conversation with he holds an executive role for, they're in the top 5 owner, operator, within our industry. And we're having a pretty good conversation. It was really interesting to hear what he spoke about. And he came in and we always kind of start the conversation with catching up with each other. We've been in contact with each other for years now, and we've made this a kind of a common thing. Every couple months we get together. How's it going? What are you working on? Give me some wins, right? Like, go ahead and boast a little bit on how well things are going. That's sometimes we need that friendship and relationship to be able to do that, right? Someone else that's working hard and understands what it takes to get there. So he was filling me in on some of that. And I said, so what's the challenges now? He said, right now the organization is working to get our employees back into the office space, but we're seeing some real challenges there. He says, we're not getting the feedback we were hoping to get as we're getting ready to bring them back. Have you heard things very similar right now out there?
Definitely. I know of people that have turned around and gone, I don't want to go back to the office. So many people are working better, working from home. But then you got the other side of the coin where, I'll give you, for instance, my wife swapped her job in the middle of COVID there, just took on a new job. And she always worked in an office. And now she works from home full time and she hates it. So, there's both sides of the coin. And I think a lot of people turn around and they think, yeah, let's go back to the office. But then there's that little bit of freedom at home, and I think that's probably your friend you were talking to. He was like, well, how are we going to get these people back?
And so now think about this. What do you think the largest challenge is? I have my opinion on it, but why do you think that? I mean, why do you think that folks who
is there a need for it?
What's that? Going back to the office?
Yeah. Is there a complete need? I mean, think about it. Think how much money, if you had an office full of 25, 30 people before COVID and your business has continued to run okay or perfectly or whatever the situation is, but continued to run throughout the whole pandemic, why would you want to spend all that money on the office space?
Now, what about a company culture?
You can still have company culture. What's to stop you turning around and instead of inviting them all for a meeting, think of the thousands of dollars that you're going to save on office space. Why don't you invite them along to a restaurant for a meal and a discussion for an afternoon? Rather, it might cost you a couple of $1,000s or whatever to bring them in. But Jesus, your rent for the building might have been $25,000 for that month.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's funny that you say that because that's one of the comments that I had made as we were having the discussion. But I said, I used to work in the field. And when I was in the field, one of the difficult things was how do you create a company culture for the technicians and for the rest of the folks working within your organization when they don't, the only thing they know about the company they're working for is whatever you are creating for them. Right. And so here we are in this place today where I don't think any company thought that they would be sending people home and it would be almost 2 years later, they would still be trying to figure out how long they were going to keep them home. Don't you agree?
I completely agree. I think a lot of people thought, sure, this will go on for a couple of months and we'll be back.
Yep.
And unless you're prepared to sit and read what the medical guys were saying, which, to be honest, I did. I follow that sort of thing. And I've got friends in the pharmaceutical industry. And they were all turning around and saying, hey, this is 12 months plus.
Mm.
You know, so I don't think a lot of people were actually prepared for it. And then suddenly everybody jumped on the bandwagon. Christ, our company needs to use Zoom. You know, it was just like, that was the thing, wasn't it? Everybody needs to use Zoom. Everybody needs to talk
that
to
was
each
definitely
other.
something I wish I had invested in. Funny enough, before COVID, Zoom had maybe 10 or 11 million subscribers. I'd had Zoom for a while, but they had only 10 or 11 million subscribers. And then in 30 days, they went to almost 300 million.
Yeah, scary.
You know, what's to me, what was more impressive, Paul, was that Zoom was, they had built their infrastructure so well that the growth didn't break them.
No, I think they had a couple of hiccups, but it never broke them.
Never broke them. And
Yeah.
I remember some other very large companies, and there was big organizations doing large stuff, and those systems were crashing.
Look at
They couldn't keep up with it.
Yeah, look at Netflix, for instance. Their system nearly went down a few times and they had to slow up all the streaming. Everyone was complaining about that.
Yeah.
So they couldn't cope. But no, I think when you say culture, what do you want to create for these people? It's I think companies need to look at themselves and go, okay, what is our culture? What do we want to create for people? What do we want to do for them that's going to make their life better? Why they're working for us? Maybe at home. Do we need them back in the office? Do we need them in 2 days a week? Do we need them in, let's just have a meeting once a month, go somewhere, do something. Adapt. It's just adapt.
Yep. And so now when we have folks that really need to be in that environment, and now what do you think about how some of these folks are giving their companies ultimatums, right? Like, look, if you're going to force me back, then we're going to have to rethink whether I want to stay in the company, right? Because think about this. They're no longer limited. The market has become very wide.
Absolutely.
And those who have a skill, right?
Yeah. And all them people sitting at home, working from home, they're suddenly, maybe they're not paying for childcare because they're doing it themselves.
That's right.
Maybe they're not paying for their fuel because they haven't got to drive 30 miles each way to the office every day.
Maybe some of them are also teachers because their children aren't going back into the school system yet.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot in this. I know here in the States, there's still quite a few cities and states where the parents are having to supervise an online learning system.
Yeah, that was happening in our house. It worked to a point until the child turned around and goes, "Not doing it." Yeah. Then what do you do? It's hard. But my eldest was great. The youngest, no, she's having none of it.
Well, we did that here. We shut down our offices, right? We moved into our home. We have a large enough home and we had the space for it. So we shut down the offices. Some of the employees stayed remote. We built the office here. And as you know, some of you who don't know or do know, we have a large family. We're a family of 8. So I have 6 children, but 2 of them work for the company, and so does my wife. And so for us, it worked out. But we went through a summer with all the kids home. Last year they were in school. They weren't in a remote school. It had some limitations, but it was still a normal school environment. This year it's all changing. After the summer, we said, okay, enough's enough. We're not going to do this again. We can't go a couple more months, a couple more months like this. Right. So
don't you worry. I think it'll be coming back again as well. So I bet they'll be home again by October or November.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. So that's why we're kind of moving through this, but no, it was just interesting that as I got into this conversation with this gentleman that their organization was struggling with this. And I see it. And you know what? They saw it too. There's a benefit of being able to work from home. And you made some great points there, Paul. So I wonder though, like, this goes back to a conversation we had the other day. Are we doing enough to prepare and change the mental state for individuals that are having to create these work environments away from a company culture. And we have the opportunity to work with a lot of different companies ourselves. So we see a lot of different dynamics, and some companies can do really good at developing that culture. Others struggle. And so, my thoughts are, and I want to know your opinion on this. How do you think we can prepare or better build a culture that is going to be established through an online setting? Because this isn't going away, right?
I agree with you. It's not going away. And what do you call, going back to normal? Is there going to be a normal anymore? I don't believe there is. So to adapt, it starts at the top. The old saying, shit rolls downhill. So it starts at the top, and for a senior manager to turn around and look at his team leads or his office managers, he's got to support them. And if he supports them correctly, in turn, they should be performing well, and they should be looking after, if they've got pods of 4 or 5 or whatever, or they're looking after techs in the field, communication's the key. Whether it's ringing them up in the morning first thing and saying, how are you? Oh, how was your evening? Just what's their mental state like before they even start their work? So it doesn't take a lot just to be, civil to somebody first thing in the morning and say, how are you? Me and Dave do it every day. How are you? What did you do yesterday evening? It's sort of, you've got to have that conversation. And if you don't, then people will just sit there and they'll become sort of mute. They'll almost become like a drone, won't they? They'll sit there and just go, right, head in the laptop, got to do it. It becomes a chore. It doesn't become something pleasurable.
You nailed it there. If it's not pleasurable, then you lose creativity.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
You lose the ability to make some great influence. Hey, you guys, if this is your first time watching, this is Lunch Talk. I'm Rigo Murillo. We have our special guest, Paul Carter, COO and co-founder of Beehive Live. It is, let's read it, the world's fastest, what is that? Growing. I'm trying to read. I don't have my glasses on. I'm sorry.
Hang on, it's on my other screen.
Yep.
World's fastest growing marketplace.
There it is. I'm going to share the, let's share the, I had it ready and then I shut it down. There we go. I'm going to share your guys' website there. So, like you said, beginning stages, still growing. Love to see what you guys are doing, making these connections. I think this is really great. Again, especially today. Look at that. I like the little character.
Our little bees.
Got it. Took a second. Yeah, I like it. All right. Okay. No, but the thing about this and what I love is that what you're doing is you're seeing an opportunity to fill a void and you're bringing a product to market. That's the part that that I like the most, because what you're looking at doing is figuring out a way to help customers and providers connect with solutions instead of looking at a way to complain about a particular area. You're looking at a way to solve it. So when I think about this, I said, you guys are in the people business. What are the biggest challenges that you have faced when listening to customers talk about what the needs are right now in the marketplace?
I think the marketplace, and I'm going to say this straight out, is very old fashioned. It's like just put out a job advert. I think the average hire time for somebody like a permanent hire is 42 days. Now, come on, we must be able to, in this day and age, do that a whole lot better. So, when it comes to contractors, the amount of adverts that I see recruitment agencies putting out on a Friday, I need somebody for Sunday, I need somebody for Monday, I need, companies themselves need to sort of not get their acts together, but think about how they can, save time, boost their productivity, you know, by using technology to employ people faster. Like if you can go, like you said, it's like you going to Costco. I know I want that. There it is. There's I've got it.
Yeah, that's
you know,
it. Yeah.
It's simple. You know, the availability of staff is, like you said, it's an employer's world, because so many people are deciding to change jobs, and with what's gone on with the pandemic and everything, then look, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, there's a marketplace for you, and that's what we're doing. We're putting the marketplace in front of the people that matter. So, you know, that's our intention, and I think a lot of people, as far as the challenges are concerned, are literally, some of them have got their head stuck in the sand. And I don't mean that in a bad way.
No,
I mean it in they're stuck in, their heads are in the sand, because it's company culture to turn around and go, oh yeah, I need 6 staff for that project, ring the agency. You know, ultimately I want to have, and Dave wants to have, we want to have a platform whereby the project manager, the HR personnel, they use our platform, and the team is there in front of them in a box. And when one message goes out from the project manager, it goes to everybody that's been put in that team box, and that includes the employed personnel.
So what about the challenge of people not liking change? Right?
It goes back to, what's the old the war saying, hearts and minds?
Yeah.
So it's yeah, I mean, if you demonstrate to people, and some people are right, I have to throw it up the line, and because the person up the line, you know, might be a bit of a dinosaur, let's say, you know, we haven't got time to invest in that, we haven't got time, because especially the renewables industry is growing at such a rate that it's a bit like the aircraft industry was in the sort of 1930s and 40s. It's just exponentially, it's growing and growing and growing. But nobody's really talking about, you know, the personnel. You get these big companies turning around going, yeah, we're throwing up X amount of gigawatts of wind turbine, and it's going to create so many jobs. It's going to create so many jobs, but nobody's talking about the personnel, and how to source that personnel, and how to train them.
How to actually find people for the jobs.
Exactly. So, you know, like I said to you earlier, I think there's going to be a few turbines in a few years, you know, standing idle, you know, whether that happens within the next 2 or 3 years, because the amount of turbines that are being built, I don't know. But yeah, I predict it's going to happen, because there'll simply be a staff shortage, because nobody's turned around and bothered to. I think there's 1.5 or 2.5 million oil and gas workers that at some point, you know, all these targets are being put up there, 2030 and 2050. They'll all need to transition or leave the industry or something. And the cost involved in that, you know, there's articles and people moaning about the cost involved with that as well. So at the end of the day, you know, it's going to be difficult.
So here's one of the things that we've come to find when you're dealing with people, and in our coaching and leadership training that we've done for our customers, there are 10 things that we have found that people in general, the psyche that they have a difficulty with. Okay. So here's those 10 things. Number 1, it's a loss of control, right? Number 2, it's an excess of uncertainty. 3, people don't like surprises. The 4th,
I love surprises.
Oh, okay.
I got a hot tub for my birthday. What a surprise!
That was a great surprise. Yeah. I got a set of Hexclad cookware. I'm a bit of a foodie, so that was my birthday present. That was cool. All right. So 4 was too much change at once. Okay. 5, loss of face, right? So the reputation, loss of face. 6 is insecurities. 7, extra work. 8, the ripple effect of the change. 9 was past resentments. And then 10 was the real danger. And here's one of the things that I think is interesting, because this goes back to our original conversation. You said right now people have their head in the sand. I agree with you, not in a negative sense, but a lot of what we do today has changed. Paul, if you want, when you wanted to know a little bit more about me, I'll ask you a simple question. What did you do? What were the first steps that you made when researching me?
I spoke to somebody that knows you very well and got a bit of background information, and that person I trust, so his opinion's valid. Second thing was simple. I went online, did my research.
That's it, right? So you and I were likely born in the same era, right around the 75 to 85. Let's just put it that way. Yeah, I know.
I'm older than that. I'm older than that.
Those are a lot younger. But here's one of the things I wanted to get into. So I'm 42.
50.
Okay. So you and I are born between 70 and 80. Okay.
Yeah.
In that era, we have what they call a tell me economy. So we would have to build and pitch, spend a lot of time in that aspect of building some level of connection, interaction, getting in front of people, doing a huge presentation. And then we start to move into an era of the show me economy, where today, the way that we find out is a good mixture, a blend of, I'm going to make a couple calls if someone knows you, connect with you. But most importantly, I'm going to get online and I'm going to check your online resume. I'm just going to see what you're into. I'm going to see who you're connected with. I'm going to see the kind of things you talk about and what you're doing. And so what's happened is we've changed the dynamic of how and what kind of opportunities we have for business. Right now, here we go. We have this tell me economy, teaching mindset, the way that we drive leadership and the way that we put in and invest into our employees. And it's already changing. The culture was already making this shift. Here comes this virus that expedites the shift and change. If we want to look at like the Industrial Revolution and we look at the speed at which industry grew after these major changes happened from the Industrial Revolution, I would say that we're there today. The dot-com boom didn't happen till the late 1990s and into 2000. So if we think about it, we're barely 2 decades into a new platform where in 20 years, we've already accomplished a massive amount of growth where now you and I are having conversations. You are literally on the other side of the world. You are in Ireland. I am in Wichita, Kansas. We're having a conversation and we're speaking to millions of people in a network that are at any point in time, they can come in, they can watch, they can like, they can not like, they can leave. They can decide this is a conversation they want to be a part of, or they can just bounce and say, forget about it. Hey, I really like what this Paul guy has to say. Man, these are two of the best looking bald dudes I've ever seen. I'm totally going to follow these guys and watch what's going on. But see, what's happening is we have this huge shift in the culture, how we're supposed to coach, teach, train, mentor, lead, staff, employ. Everything is changing, and it's changing at such a rapid rate. I don't necessarily think people have their heads stuck in the sand as much as they're trapped in a place where they don't, right?
Change is happening. Change is happening. And I get, like when I say stuck in the sand, like I said to you, I don't mean it in a bad way. I just think it's half of company culture and the way that they're probably running, say, currently running meetings, currently running, every single company out there, probably all their rules have changed now. Their culture's changed. Everything's changed.
Everything's changed. How many do you think has actually gone and updated that though? That's what I'm saying. I don't see it. I think company need to literally take the old book, toss it, and start from the beginning.
Start afresh. Yeah,
I do.
I mean, how do you? A lot of people will struggle to go when they're not in the office. I can't keep an eye on them. I don't know how they're doing. Well,
yeah. What about performance based?
Yeah. Look at their work. Yeah. Is their work better? Is their work good?
Yep.
You know, are they still packing in? This is something that was mentioned a few shows ago. Iceland did that trial, the 4-day week. You know, the people, the staff were performing better over a 4-day week. And why? Probably because literally, hang on a second, I work harder because I'm going to get day 5 off.
Yeah, I only have 4 days to get the week's work done. So
exactly.
Let's knock it out. No, I think we're in an interesting time, and I thought it was really interesting that that not only small companies. Hey, Donnie, why don't you grab this for me? Not only small companies but large companies are faced with the same challenges.
And they're probably finding it harder, I'd imagine.
What was that?
They're probably finding it harder, I would imagine.
Yeah, you know, they have a lot more to lose, right? It's a lot more difficult for them, I would say, especially as a larger company, because they've really depended on that culture, that environment. And, you know, and I said, you know, Paul, this is the kind of thing. How do we make those same impacts? See, because here's the part I want to figure out. How do we do something that's positive that helps? The industry is going to grow. This is the area we're going. Companies are going to change. They're going to have to, or they're going to become the next Montgomery Wards, right?
Communication. It's down to communication. The more you speak to your staff, the more you engage with them, you know, because half the time when they're not in the office, I would imagine, not in every company, but I'd imagine in a lot of companies, you might have an office full of 15, 20 people, you know, and the boss is off in a separate office. Did he come out and speak to them people every day? Probably not. But if he's speaking to them every second day online saying, how are you? What have you been up to the last couple of days? You know, he's being a bit more personable. So ultimately, if that person's interacting with you as a staff member better, you're probably going to work for them better, aren't you?
Absolutely. And I'm 100% with you. I think a nice hybrid blend of doing both is coming. Engaging with our staff and employees more. You know, I have remote workers and I'm flying them in this week. I've got one coming in today. And we're going to spend a week together working in the new office and getting things ready. I'm not bringing them down to work. I'm bringing them down to be a part of a team building exercise called painting. Right. But here's the reality is we could hire somebody to do it, which we do for a lot of other things, or we can have fun and taking ownership in decorating our office. Like when
get their opinion, you know, what do you want to see in here?
And if you think about that, like when you go to a new home, what makes a home yours? What makes a home yours are those little aspects you do, putting a painting on the wall, choosing a wall color, having fun, and adding those personal pieces to it. That's why we're doing this. That's why we're bringing the team in, and we're all going to be working together over the next few days doing it. It's not to get work because they could be doing other things that are a lot more productive, but this is important because it's productive in their spirit, it's productive in their minds, and it's productive in their connection with the rest of the team. And without that connection, they start to separate. So you brought up some great stuff. I'm really happy that you joined us today, Paul. And I think you know, we still have a lot in our industry and in industry period to learn. But I think we can learn a lot as we look at other places of industry. That's one of the things I've come to find out. There are companies that are and have been in a creative stance. You know, I've read some articles, and you know, if you read, I'm trying to remember the name of the book. I went to go look up on my shelf, but everything's packed because we're moving into the new office soon. the founder, CEO of Starbucks. Gosh, I can't remember the name of the book right now, but that book and listening to groups that have built companies like Apple, companies like Pixar, companies like that, especially in the tech space. Here's one of the things I've noticed: gaming, software, sort of development, Onward. Onward. Thank you, Erica. It was a good book. But this tech space, they count on people to be what? Creative, right? And this kind of work takes a long time. It's not about hours. It's long projects. And so you look at, people in the production space, like video and music. My brother is a professional musician. And when I've gone with him to these atmospheres, they're there for hours, but the environment is all built for them to thrive, to be creative, to take a break if they need to, but come right back. You don't go from a 9 to 5, you show up and you don't leave till it's done. You see some of those great stories about some musicians and bands that we love. I think one that I enjoyed the most was the story of Queen and how they went to that farm and locked themselves there for a few months while they worked on getting one of the most impactful albums they ever had done. If you think about this, we can learn from this place. In my opinion, we as industry, we need to learn from this aspect and saying, okay, this is our future, right? This is where we are today. How do we learn from it?
I think one of the things that's come out this pandemic is, you say about the workspace and the creativity and everything. Flexi time comes into that massively.
Okay, so you're going to have to translate flexi time.
Flexi time. So, for instance, as long as you're getting your work done, I don't care what hours you work. Yep. There might be set hours you need.
Got it. We have meetings with clients, right? There's certain times you got to be available.
Yeah. However, I can't remember the name of the company, but I tell you, I would do this if I had a company that had, let's say, in excess of 50 staff. I wouldn't give them set holidays a year.
Yep.
I would turn around and say, here's your targets. As long as you're performing, there is certain hours we do need you during the week because of certain particular things. However, it's up to you to manage your own time. Time management's crucial. So I wouldn't give them
tools, right? Here's some tools to help.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't give them holidays. I'd let them, if they want to take 3 weeks off, as long as their work's done, it's covered, there's no issues, you take your 3 weeks.
We did that. There was a research paper we found when we started the company back in 2018. I have to go back and look at it, but our employees have unlimited PTO. There's a set hours, but it's the time frame that I expect people to be able to be available. If they're not going to be, they just need to let us know. But there are certain things that happen. But outside of that, that's exactly it. It's performance based.
Exactly. You might need them people between 10 and 2 every day.
That's exactly.
And if they're around between 10 and 2 every day, all right, I'll speak to them tomorrow because they're there between 10 and 2.
Yep. And think about this as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, we understand this. If we're not fulfilling a need for a customer, we don't get paid, right? We're not going to continue getting business. Everything we do is based on a level of performance. Why not create that same concept and help teach employees how to have an entrepreneurial mindset, understand how to base their performance where they want to go. Hey, if you want to grow in the organization, you want to build in this company, show us by investing in delivering more on your performance. But the key is, I think employees, we need to have a system ensuring that employees don't take advantage of overperforming employees who currently exist in a salary-based place, but don't get the opportunity to grow, right? If you're going to outperform your role, then we need to exceed our compensation to them, right?
Yeah.
Or help them grow into another role that's going to allow them to spread this way of doing business and their good habits out to others, put them in a leadership position.
No company should ever stop somebody from improving themselves.
Yeah.
And some companies do, because that's fine. Keep them in that position. They're really good at their job, leave them there. Now, I think that's wrong. From my experience,
that happens. Oh my gosh, that happens. It's horrible,
happen.
But it does.
And it is horrible. And I think you should turn around and, as a manager, as a director, whatever you may be in your job, you should look at your staff and go, Christ, they're really performing well. Let's encourage them to do something. If that person had a dream, what's your dream? You're doing this job amazingly. What's your dream with your career? And if they turn around and go, right, well, I want to start my own company at some point, I would encourage that.
No, but this goes back to the things that people fear. Loss of control, excess of uncertainty, right? They don't like the surprises, too much change, right? So this is, to me,
does that not make you think that person is in the wrong position then?
This is where you drive culture, right? I agree. I was taught something, and I'll share it with the audience here, but I had a manager who would challenge me to do this. And so I started doing the same. Once a year, you should be interviewing with other companies. Maybe people don't like to hear that. But if you work for somebody, as a manager, I would
nothing wrong with that.
I would challenge, hey, first off, this is a skill set you should have. You should never get rusty. Go out and at least do one interview a year with somebody else. Number one, what does that do for us, Paul? That helps us identify, are we, as an employer, are we market ready? Right?
And wouldn't you prefer that employee to turn around and say to you,
yeah,
oh, I'm going to have an interview next week?
That's right.
Hang on a second. There might be something wrong with my company because that employee is going for an interview.
Discuss it. That's exactly right. Or we're learning from the different environments of different companies, and we're saying, okay, this is great. How do I make the dynamic better for mine? It's funny because in organizations, if you think about this in a sales perspective, as a company, I need to know who my best client is, and I'm going to go after that. If I try to just shotgun approach and hit the whole market, I'm not going to win. And this is a mistake I see from sales, and I see a lot of companies make, is they're not being specific. It's just like in shooting, and you talked about in fishing. If I fish in a pond with 30, 40 different fish, but I'm after one type, I've increased the opportunity for me to get all the wrong ones. I have not narrowed it down unless I go to where I need to be to get it. Just like in shooting, it's about being precise and learning how to zoning your target. You have to find your target, and then you work at dialing that in. You don't just shoot randomly wherever you want. This attitude is the type of behavior that I see in the workplace, and I think this should help us build the right environment, bringing the right people in. I think we're in a great place, Paul. I think better than ever and ever before, and I think I've got a little bit of lag, so I apologize. But I think we're in the best place ever in industry to be able to create environments and work dynamic that's going to be powerful, absolutely powerful.
And wouldn't you love to hear from your employees if you had an absolute mass of them? Oh, if one of them said, "Oh, I've spotted this. I think that we could use this," and managers shouldn't shut them things off. A lot of managers turn around and go, "Oh, well, we haven't got time to discuss that." Make the bloody time.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, there was a lot of stuff that came up. Listen, if you guys like what you're seeing, do me a favor, let us know. Erica was just telling me, I don't know. She goes, I don't know what's going on with StreamYard. I don't know what's going on. I haven't been real happy with them. But she goes, the count's not right. We've got a lot of active folks on there. So awesome. I'm glad you guys came and joined. I'm glad that Paul came and was a part of this today. Thank you so much, Paul. You're welcome to come back anytime, by the way, as a guest host. And as we get into deeper conversation. But I want to know what your thoughts are. What do you think, right? How do we get people back into the workplace properly? Can we? And have we changed the culture so bad, or have we made such a shift in it that that this isn't going to work unless we come up with some unique methods? So check out Beehive. I really do think it's cool. So beehivelive.com.
Yep.
That's right. So is it app.beehive? Is that right? app.
Yeah. Well, we've got an app as well. So technicians have got, if they go to iOS or Android, the Beehive Live app is there. You can download it in both stores. Cool. That's a work in progress, but it's adapting every day. We get so many ideas off of technicians as well.
Hey, where's my phone? Go ahead. There it is. I wanted to show it. And you guys do me a favor. #lunch. For those of you in the States, I know I haven't figured out a way to get this outside of the States. But for those of you in the States, if you like what you're seeing, you want to know when we go live again, #lunch, LUNCCH, to 316-799-8052. That's part of the community.com process. I love community. If you haven't checked that out, maybe it's country by country, but it's an incredible tool. I love it. It lets me communicate with people, send out messages. I can receive your texts, but it doesn't invade my privacy. It's a great tool for business from what I've seen. So especially on the marketing side. Thanks, Chris, for joining. Thank you guys all for being here. It's been really an interesting conversation, and I'm glad that, Paul, you were here to join us. So if you're watching this on a replay, do me a favor, #replay. Like and subscribe to our channels and find us here on LinkedIn. Make sure to follow. Click if you were not friends. Let's connect. Same thing with Paul Carter, Dave Reese. Reach out to these guys. Great supporters of the show. And honestly, I think they have a great product. I'm excited to see where they grow in the market. And anytime you want to come on, talk about any new progress you're doing, Paul, by all means. And get Dave on. He said, I'm not really that guy. Get him on.
I tell you, get him to send you a picture in the chat now, because I bet he's there with his Hawaiian shirt on and his chest out.
Well, good. Enjoy the pool party, Dave. Hey, we'll talk to you guys later. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Thanks for being a part of the show. And we'll hope to catch you next week, same time. So it's Wednesday, 1 p.m. Central Time. We'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.